Hey guys, I just thought I would do a quick update on my Manjaro KDE journey. It has been 3 weeks now since I have installed Manjaro KDE on my main production machine here at home. I made, a video on the very first day that I installed Manjaro KDE on this machine. I also did a video on my experience after 5 days with Manjaro KDE. Then I did a video on my experience after 10 days with Manjaro KDE, and I haven't made one since that 10-day video. So it's been, 10 or 12 days or so since the last video, and a lot of you have been bugging me, asking me, hey, how's Manjaro KDE treating you? So I thought I'd, just do a quick update video. My last video, things were kind of trending in a negative direction. I was experiencing, some bugs and some crashes. I was kind of not really liking KDE that much. I love Manjaro, the base system, but I really wasn't liking the KDE desktop. And for the most part, that's still the situation, but let me go over some things that I do like. Let's start by separating Manjaro and KDE. Let me tell you what I love about Manjaro. First of all, it's been, 3 weeks. So it hasn't been a long time I've been living in Manjaro, but it's been stable. I've had no breakages. I update the system, every other day or so. I've had no packages break on me, even minor stuff. I haven't had any dependency problems, nothing. Package related, everything has just went smooth. The only thing I had to do, I did have in the last few days, I had to refresh some mirrors. I had a mirror that was down one day, but other than that, I've had absolutely no problems with Manjaro, with Pac-Man, with anything as far as the base system. Everything is just squared away. I've been super impressed with Manjaro on that note, because rolling releases, you never know, is anything going to break on you? Is it going to be stable? Is it going to be reliable? So far, A-OK on that department. The other thing I'm really digging about Manjaro is the community. In particular, the Manjaro forums here. I'm not that active on it. I've posted on the Manjaro forums a few times. I do read them almost every day. I read through some of the topics, mainly just to see what's going on with Manjaro, but also I see people asking for technical assistance, for help, troubleshooting, problems with their installation and whatnot, and people get help on the Manjaro forums. Not only do they get help, they get friendly help. In so many Linux communities, I'm not going to say that people aren't friendly, but some of them are not as friendly as others. You do on certain forums out there, on Linux forums, you get people that ask for help, especially really new users that have no idea what they're doing. They ask for help, and then people really talk down to them or treat them like, hey, idiot, or, why don't you know how to do this? Why don't you go read the wiki? Why don't you go read the manual? And, that comes across really as kind of snobbish. It also comes across as being rude when you do that. I've seen none of that kind of activity at all on the Manjaro forums, and that's refreshing. And there are other Linux distro forums out there that I occasionally visit that are also just as friendly as the Manjaro forums, but there's also a couple out there where you ask a question and you need to put on your flame suit, because sometimes you can get some crazy backlash for asking a question. Hey, did you read the wiki? Did you Google it? Did you do this? Did you do that? The Manjaro forums, though, people ask for help. They generally get help. They get a quick answer, friendly answer, and I'm really loving that. So that's what I love about Manjaro. What do I not love about Manjaro? Well, really nothing has come up for me to comment on that. I haven't found anything I don't like about Manjaro, at least not Manjaro, the base distro, Manjaro as a community, Manjaro as a project. I have absolutely nothing negative to say about it, at least not yet. Maybe I'll find something in the future. If I do, I'll let you know. Now moving on to KDE. What do I love and what do I hate about KDE? And there are things that I love about KDE, but there are also some things that I definitely hate about KDE. Let's talk about what I love about KDE. Customizability. I mentioned in one of my previous videos that KDE has to be the most customizable desktop environment available, and no doubt it is. You can make KDE look like anything you want it to look like. You can make KDE do whatever you want it to do. That customizability comes at a price. When you have so many options and settings, and these options and settings are in all kinds of different spots, it is not the most user-friendly desktop environment, KDE that is, because there's so much to it. There's something to be said for having a simpler desktop environment with less options. But, you know, for those of you that want the most customizable desktop environment available, KDE is it, for sure. There's also something to be said about attractiveness. KDE is a beautiful desktop environment, no doubt. KDE looks good. That said, though, let's be fair. GNOME looks good too. So does Budgie. Budgie's a beautiful desktop environment. Deepin is a gorgeous desktop environment. Even minimal desktop environments like XFCE can be made to look really beautiful. So, you know, there's a lot of good looking desktop environments out there. KDE is one of them though, so that is a positive. But probably the thing I love most about KDE is the KDE programs. I've really fallen in love with some of the KDE programs. Some of them I'm probably going to run on my machines in the future, whether I run KDE or not. There's some of them I'm going to keep installing on my systems going forward. One I want to mention in particular is Kdenlive. When I first started my Manjaro KDE journey, I mentioned that I was going to start using Kdenlive for the first time. I have never used Kdenlive until 3 weeks ago when I installed Manjaro KDE. And I knew Kdenlive would be on the ISO, being a KDE app. Before I started using Kdenlive, I was using a program called Pativi to edit my videos. In the last 3 weeks playing around with Kdenlive, I have absolutely fell in love with this video editing program. This may be one of the best free and open source pieces of software available, bar none. Kdenlive is that good. It is almost like professional quality video editing. I love Kdenlive. So going forward, regardless of distro I install, regardless of desktop environment I run, Kdenlive is going on my production machine, period. End of story. I'm going to keep using Kdenlive no matter what in the future. It's that good. I'm kind of upset that I didn't learn Kdenlive before. Like, it's taken me this long to figure out Kdenlive because, you know, I've been a Linux user for many years, and to just now use Kdenlive for the first time, you know, I really should have looked at this before. Kdenlive is awesome though. Some of the other apps that I've also been impressed with, I've mentioned in my previous videos that I love the Dolphin File Manager. Unfortunately, the Dolphin File Manager is very tightly integrated with KDE. You know, to install the Dolphin File Manager is going to pull down so many KDE dependencies. I'm not going to be able to run Dolphin in another desktop environment. I mean, you could, but it's going to pull down pretty much all of KDE with it. I'm not going to do that. The Kate text editor is a really nice text editor, but there's so many other nice text editors in Linux. There's really no need for me to, you know, go to the trouble of installing a KDE text editor in another desktop environment. But Kate is a fantastic program. I really like it. One program that I will definitely use in the future, regardless of desktop environment I use, is K3B. The K3B disk burning utility is by far the best free and open source disk burning utility available. And it doesn't pull down a ton of KDE dependencies, so I can install this regardless of desktop that I run, and I will. Kdenlive and K3B are going to be programs I install on every system, I think. They're that good. Now let's discuss what I hate about KDE. In my previous video, me using Manjaro KDE after 10 days, I mentioned I had experienced a couple of crashes, a couple of hard crashes where the computer was completely locked up and I had to reboot the machine. Well, in the 10 or 12 days since I made that video, I've had a few more of those crashes. And I'm not sure what it is, but it's annoying me. It's annoying me to the point where I probably need to just go ahead and give up on my KDE experience and move on to another desktop environment or another window manager. Let me explain to you how this happens. I click on something in my icons only taskbar down here in the panel, and instead of opening it, it'll just freeze for a second. I'm talking about the freeze, the little spinny thing where it's like it's about to open the program. Does it for like a second and then freezes, and the whole screen's locked up. The cursor won't move. You can't get to a command prompt of any kind. You can't get to the TY terminal. You can't do anything other than power off the machine. And that has happened just like that scenario I laid out probably 3 or 4 times since I made that Manjaro KDE journey after 10-day video. So all in all, it's happened, I don't know, 6 or 8 times since I've installed Manjaro KDE 3 weeks ago. That's too many really hard crashes for my liking. I never had any crashes before when I was running, Ubuntu and OpenBox on this machine before. Some of my other machines that are running things like Debian, and all of them were OpenBox though, so none of them were running KDE. I don't know if it's a KDE thing. I'm assuming it's KDE that's causing the problem. I'm actually assuming it's the panel and maybe the actual applet in the panel, this icons only taskbar. But you know what, I'm not going to sit here and try to figure out exactly what is causing the crashes. All I know is things are crashing, and I can't have that. I can't have a hard crash like that where the computer locks up. I mean, what if I'm in the middle of something? What if I'm rendering a video or something when one of these hard crashes come up? That could be hours of work that's lost because I've got to reboot the machine. I can't have that. So that's a real problem. Another problem is screen tearing and screen artifacts. Let's see if I can demonstrate this on camera. So the screen tearing and the really bad screen artifacts, I've noticed they happen with certain programs. GIMP and VLC seem to be the worst. When I'm editing images, like for maybe thumbnails for my DistroTube channel or whatever, if I'm editing a picture and I start moving GIMP around, it's not doing it now because I don't have anything open, but it will leave artifacts all over the screen to where it's practically unreadable what's going on the screen. VLC, the same way. I open a video in VLC and I start moving that window around, the VLC window, and it leaves crap all over my screen. Again, to the point you can't even read what's on the desktop. Let me see if I can demonstrate this. Let me open up VLC here. And I'm going to open up one of my videos. Let me mute the sound. This is a video I made yesterday. But anyway, I'm going to play it and then watch me drag the window around. Look at what is happening to my screen. I mean, this is crazy. Let me drag GIMP around. GIMP kind of cleans it up a little bit. Well, no, look at the GIMP window. Wow. Let me close GIMP. Let me close VLC. And I still have some artifacts left over on the screen. Let's see if I can clean that up. I'll open up some lightweight program. The terminal will work, I guess. You full screen the terminal. Close it. And all that crap is gone. But it makes it to the point where if I'm doing some pretty serious work in GIMP, or if I'm playing videos in VLC, it leaves that kind of stuff on the screen constantly. You drag anything around and it just leaves artifacts all over the screen. Screen tearing is also a problem. Even when the compositor is turned on or the compositor is turned off, when it's turned off, actually, it tends to be worse. I don't understand why. I don't know. I've never had any issue even remotely like that when I was using OpenBox with the Compton compositor. So I'm not sure. And other desktop environments. I mean, before this, I have used Unity on this computer before. I didn't live in Unity, but I mean, I logged into it occasionally, and I never had anything like that in Unity. So again, it's probably a KDE problem. So that is my Manjaro KDE journey after 3 weeks, and I've come to a decision. I'm going to have to leave KDE behind. I'm going to have to go ahead and just move on to another desktop environment or window manager, because there some of these problems I just can't live with. Just the screen artifacts, the screen tearing and all of that I demonstrate some of on this video, that's unacceptable. It just is. But even that's not as bad as the hard crashes that I mentioned. Again, I've had about, I don't know, 6 or 8 hard crashes where the computer is completely locked up and I have to reboot the machine. I can't have that. So I have to move on to another desktop environment. I'm going to stay with Manjaro though. Again, I'm riding with Manjaro for a little while here, and so far I have no problems with Manjaro. Love the Manjaro distro. Love the Pac-Man package manager. I love the Arch base. So I'm sticking with Manjaro, but I need to move on to a different desktop environment. I don't know when I will make that switch. Because I just installed this 3 weeks ago, I still have, a lot of my data backed up, so I can just do a fresh install of another version of Manjaro. And, it really won't cause me too many problems. A couple hours of work, and I'll be right back up and running again. The question is, what do I want to go with? Obviously, Manjaro's flagship product is their XFCE edition, and I like the XFCE desktop environment, but honestly, where I really want to go, and I want to go back to OpenBox. I'm an OpenBox guy. I mean, I've used OpenBox forever, and I may just do like a minimal install of Manjaro and throw OpenBox on it, or maybe install the LXDE version of Manjaro, which probably will have OpenBox already installed on it. I don't mind also having some of the LXDE stuff installed by default. But I'm not sure, I wouldn't mind having viewer opinions on that as far as a desktop environment or window manager maybe to try out in Manjaro. Maybe something else that I've never used. Instead of being all comfortable and just running back to OpenBox, maybe I should live in something else that I've never used. I've never used GNOME. I don't really like GNOME. Never lived in Cinnamon. I hate Cinnamon. I don't want to live in Cinnamon. Don't suggest Cinnamon. You know what? Just the other day, I saw the announcement of a recent release of Manjaro Deepin. I really liked the Deepin desktop environment when I reviewed it for Deepin 15.5. I wouldn't mind trying the Deepin desktop environment on top of Manjaro. That might be where I go. We'll see. All I know is I'm going to have to leave KDE. But anyway, that's the journey after 3 weeks. I'll keep you guys posted. Peace.